But the fact that the ratings from Caitlin
be the best. I get y'all saying best player in the world. That's great. It looks great. But I want to be the best person. I want to be the best teammate.
In an interview, Aja Wilson expressed her frustration, saying, This year, more than ever, I've heard people call my game boring, Aja Wilson said in an interview. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Aja Wilson prefers playing with more freedom, without fans fixating too much on the sport. After the Fever's elimination, that's exactly what she experienced. Fans lost interest in the playoffs entirely.
Let's just say the ratings aren't the same with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever now eliminated. Game 1 of the Aces Liberty matchup on Sunday drew an average of 929,000 viewers. It was down nearly 50% from last Sunday's Fever Sun contest. By the way, not only was viewership down, but attendance was as well.
Caitlin Clark's absence has resulted in a decline in viewership game after game, while she watched from home as it all unfolded. I can imagine she's laughing at the situation. They could have had the highest-rated playoff final, but instead, it slipped away.
All I gotta say is she's lucky this UConn team isn't healthy. And that's a true statement.
That's wrong, Molly.
Monica?
That's wrong, Molly. Molly,
like
it's
five
excuses.
top players,
it's excuses,
am I right?
Molly. It's
Major
excuses.
injury.
You would not be saying that if it wasn't UConn.
Major stars not playing.
Listen, excuse me,
Go.
it's her against Caitlin Clark.
Stephen A.
Ain't no excuses.
Stephen
You
A.
got there. Don't want to hear that now.
Stephen A.
Let me tell you, if
Paige
Georgetown
Beckers-
get back in the mix, I'm going to be insufferable. I'm just telling you that now.
What?
If Paige Beckers didn't basically miss 2 seasons, I don't know if we'd be talking
Come on
about
now.
Caitlin Clark the way we are now.
Now we have a New York Liberty versus Minnesota Lynx final, and I can't even name a single player from either team. This matchup is poised to attract the lowest viewership of the playoffs so far. How does the WNBA allow this to happen?
There's a reason 12 million people are watching ESPN for a game. If that game was on CBS, they probably would have had 25, 30 million people watching that game.
The WNBA is clearly struggling without Caitlin Clark. They initially tried to downplay the Caitlin effect, insisting it wasn't significant, but now they're witnessing it with every passing moment. Without her, the league has become unwatchable once again.
And it looks like we're not going to be seeing Caitlin Clark play basketball again for another 200 days. An ESPN reporter said at the end of the Indiana Fever Connecticut Sun Game 2 that Caitlin Clark almost definitely will not be playing basketball this offseason. So no overseas and no 3-on-3 unrivaled league.
Aja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces have been a dominant force in the WNBA this season, entering the playoffs as top contenders. Many expected Aja to lead the Aces to the finals. However, their semi-final matchup against the New York Liberty took a surprising turn. The Liberty, with their own star players, delivered a powerful performance, eliminating the Aces and sending shockwaves through the WNBA community. This loss not only dashed Las Vegas's championship hopes, but also took one of the league's biggest stars out of the spotlight, contributing to a decline in playoff excitement overall.
Caitlin Clark's the most valuable, most important person in the WNBA this year and should have been unanimous Rookie of the Year.
The unanimous MVP title brings high expectations, with fans and analysts anticipating that the recipient will lead their team deep into the playoffs, potentially to a championship. Aja Wilson's elimination with the Aces not only impacted the team's chances, but also stripped the playoffs of a key storyline. She was meant to be the star everyone focused on in the finals, but now, she won't have the opportunity to compete for the championship, leaving fans disappointed.
Being disrespectful, but they talked a lot of trash and they got humbled. And I think that that's okay. That is sports. That is what we live for in sports.
Caitlin Clark is a player who commands attention with her captivating style of play and her knack for controlling the game, making her one of the most exciting athletes in the WNBA. However, when the Indiana Fever, led by Clark, were eliminated from the playoffs by the Connecticut Sun, the appeal of the playoffs diminished significantly. The excitement typically associated with WNBA playoff games seemed to vanish, leaving many fans feeling that the matches were less intense, less thrilling, and ultimately less enjoyable without her presence on the court.
And to act like there isn't or hasn't been legitimate resentment emanating from those who are pioneers. Nobody's fooled here. You got pundits who used to play in the WNBA, some of them who didn't, and who were speaking on behalf
of those who didn't want to create that kind of noise themselves because of the negative impact. We talk about it when the men do it. If we detect jealousy, if we detect envy, if we detect resentment, and it's amongst the fellas, we put it out there. Shit, we act like it's the latest episode of General Hospital. But when the ladies are feeling that way about another young lady like Caitlin Clark, and people like myself and Shay Shay call it out, suddenly it's a problem.
The absence of a player like Caitlin Clark from the playoffs represents more than just the loss of one athlete. It's the loss of an entire experience. Clark's unique blend of skill and charisma captivates viewers, whether they are diehard basketball enthusiasts or casual fans. When she was eliminated, that magic faded, leaving behind playoffs that felt flat and unexciting. For the WNBA, this was a significant setback. The playoffs are meant to be the pinnacle of the season, showcasing the best players and drawing fans in. However, without Clark, many describe the playoffs as a misery and a mess, highlighting the impact one extraordinary player can have on the overall excitement of the league.
Ever since, Angel Reese had that injury, to me, and also coming off of Olympic break, Caitlin Clark separated herself. Yeah. She should have been unanimous. Now to celebrate her, one thing that people forget is as a rookie, she was the most blitzed player in the WNBA, and she still put up 19, 5, and 8 assists.
After Caitlin Clark's exit, the WNBA faced one of the most significant drops in viewership in its history. Fans who had been passionately following the playoffs suddenly lost interest. The numbers tell a clear story. Once Clark was out of the competition, viewership began to plummet sharply and immediately, underscoring her immense draw for the league. Like any professional sports league, the WNBA relies heavily on viewership for its success. Television ratings are essential for securing sponsorships, advertising deals, and broadcasting rights. When viewership declines, so do the league's opportunities for growth and audience expansion. The sudden drop in viewers following Clark's elimination highlights her crucial role in the league's overall success. For many fans, the excitement of the playoffs was intrinsically tied to Caitlin Clark's performances. Her ability to dominate games and execute incredible plays left fans in awe and was a significant reason people tuned in. Without her, the games lost much of their appeal. Fans were simply less interested in watching teams compete without Clark, and this shift was clearly reflected in the disappointing viewership numbers.
Should your scenario take place, Jason, and it steadily declines, I wonder, this actually needs to be studied. What other sports league has diminishing ratings as you get closer to the championship? That would actually embolden the argument that there's a certain guard that now plays in Indiana truly should be the logo of that league.
The impact of this viewership decline cannot be overstated. The WNBA had been experiencing a steady rise in popularity, with more fans tuning in to games each season. However, following Caitlin Clark's exit, the league saw a massive drop in viewership, a decline that could have long-term effects if the WNBA doesn't find a way to engage fans beyond its biggest stars. While various factors can affect viewership, it's clear that Caitlin Clark's absence was the primary reason for this dramatic downturn. Clark isn't just a player, she's a phenomenon. Her ability to captivate an audience is unmatched, and without her, the WNBA playoffs lost a considerable portion of their fan base. Clark's influence on viewership is profound. When she's on the court, fans are drawn in by her incredible skills, leadership, and commanding presence. She has a way of making every game feel significant, and viewers respond to that energy. Whether it's her scoring prowess or clutch performances in critical moments, Clark brings something to the game that few others can replicate, making her absence deeply felt in the league.
Pretty impressive for Caitlin to win Rookie of the Year in a dominant fashion when it is going to be one of the great rookie classes in the history of the league.
When Caitlin Clark was eliminated, the draw she brought vanished. Fans following her playoff journey suddenly lost interest. While other players are talented, they lacked the star power to keep viewers engaged. The WNBA thrives on its stars, and Clark is one of the biggest. Without her, the playoffs lost a significant portion of their audience.
Hats off to the Fever on a great season. I don't think anybody expected them to make the playoffs after starting 1-8. They had a tremendous second half of the season. That Olympic break was much needed. But Caitlin, so happy that Caitlin Clark came into the WNBA light and fans get to actually watch her and see what she.
Caitlin Clark isn't just one of the WNBA's best players. She's the face of the league. Her ability to captivate viewers is unparalleled, making her central to the WNBA's efforts to expand its audience. When people think of the WNBA, Clark is often the first player that comes to mind, and for good reason. Her dynamic style of play is what makes her so appealing to fans. She plays with intensity and flair that's rare in professional sports. Whether it's her deep three-pointers, flashy assists, event.
This league is insane. And that's why I have mixed feelings. I'm going to miss Caitlin Clark. Hopefully I don't see her on the basketball court again until April, until next WNBA season. But I'm so glad I don't have to watch the rest of this. I've been so turned off by most of these players in the WNBA. It's incredible.
The elimination of Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever by the Connecticut Sun marked a major shift in the WNBA playoffs, leading to one of the most significant drops in viewership in the league's history. Up until that point, the playoffs had attracted solid attention, but after Clark's team was knocked out, the numbers rapidly declined. For many fans, it wasn't just about losing the Indiana Fever. It was about losing the opportunity to see Caitlin Clark continue her playoff journey. Clark had been the star of the postseason, and her performances were the highlight of the games. Once the Fever were eliminated, fans lost their primary reason for tuning in, causing a dramatic dip in overall interest and excitement for the remainder of the playoffs.
Basketball has really consumed my life for a year, so I feel like it'll be good for me to kind of reflect back on everything that's happened. Like, I feel like I didn't even have time to really reflect on my college career because it ended so fast. I feel like taking some time to myself and really enjoying that and reflecting back.
The viewership drop after Caitlin Clark's elimination was unprecedented. The WNBA had been enjoying some of its best ratings during the playoffs, but with Clark out, the numbers nosedived. Fans simply weren't as invested in watching the remaining games without her presence, signaling how much the league depends on its star players to keep viewers engaged. Throughout the season, the WNBA had been building momentum, with a growing fan base tuning in to watch. However, Clark's elimination abruptly halted that momentum. The league was left scrambling to maintain interest without its brightest star, and the plummeting viewership reflected the challenge of keeping fans engaged. The loss of both Caitlin Clark and A'ja Wilson had a devastating impact on the WNBA's viewership. The league reportedly lost nearly half of its audience after these two stars were eliminated. This unprecedented decline highlights how critical players like Clark and Wilson are to the league's overall success, and the difficulty of sustaining fan interest without them in the spotlight.
Texas went from being one of the most loved teams in the WNBA to being riddled with so much drama this season. A'ja Wilson was under fire last week for the privileged comment that she made to Kelsey Plum. And Coach Becky Hammon was under fire for basically saying that her team was too busy being celebrities and they were distracted and that's why they're not winning games. The list goes on and on. If you're this Aces team, you really need to regroup and maybe make some tough decisions about the future of this team.
The WNBA Finals are typically the most anticipated games of the year, with fans eager to see the top teams battle for the championship. The league expects its highest viewership during this time, but this year's final is shaping up to be one of the least watched in WNBA history. With stars like Caitlin Clark out of the competition, fan excitement for the finals has significantly diminished. The WNBA was hoping for a marquee showdown, but is now facing the reality of likely low viewership. The absence of key players like Clark has turned what should have been a thrilling conclusion to the season into a subdued event. For the WNBA, this is a significant issue. The finals are meant to be the season's pinnacle, attracting the most attention and viewership. But without Caitlin Clark, the enthusiasm just isn't there. Fans are less engaged, and the league is bracing for some of its lowest finals ratings in years, a major blow to its efforts to grow the sport.
You guys were right. That's what we're saying. You
no,
were right.
Molly, you did not say that, Molly. No,
saying
no,
it.
no.
That is what you said.
You
That
did
is
not.
what you
That's
said.
not what you said, Molly.
What are you guys
That is not what you said.
Caitlin Clark has made a tremendous impact on the WNBA in a short period, doing more for the league than many players have over their entire careers. She has revitalized the sport, drawing in new fans, boosting media coverage, have made her the face of the WNBA. Clark's competitiveness and game-changing abilities attract viewers who may not have otherwise followed women's basketball. Her influence is undeniable, and she has played a crucial role in raising the league's profile, both in terms of viewership and media attention.
But to me, that's not dominating.
Despite her significant contributions, Caitlin Clark hasn't always received the treatment she deserves. Fans have been overly critical, and questionable referee calls have impacted her performances. For a player who has done so much for the WNBA, it's disheartening to see her face such challenges. The league must acknowledge her value and ensure she receives the respect and fairness she's earned.
This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie, targeted by society, targeted by her looks, targeted by her reputation.
Although Caitlin Clark is out of the playoffs, fans are already eagerly awaiting her return next season. The anticipation is undeniable, and the WNBA knows that her comeback will undoubtedly boost viewership. Her absence has left a noticeable void, but excitement for her next season is steadily growing. Fans are counting the days until they can see Clark back on the court, and her return is crucial not only for them, but for the league as well. The WNBA needs her star power, and her next season promises to be one of the most highly anticipated events in the league's history. Fans are excited to witness her lead her team and make unforgettable plays again. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. More videos are on screen now.